Hello and welcome to the 13th episode of the Culture Club podcast. If this is your first time listening, welcome. I hope you learned something here today. And if you're coming back to the podcast, thank you so much for supporting us. My name is Oscar Dalton. I'm a currency collector, amateur vexillographer, and lover of cultures from all over the world. Today's episode will be on Latvia. Or Latvia. I might say it differently in this episode. So, without further ado, let's get into the culture. The Republic of Latvia is an independent Baltic state that borders Estonia to the north, Lithuania to the south, Russia to the east, Belarus to the southeast, and the Baltic Sea to the west. Latvia is mostly flat, but the highest point, Gazin Columns, reaches around 1,024 feet or 312 meters. Latvia has an area of 64,589 square kilometers, which is slightly larger than the U.S. state of West Virginia. Latvia has a population of 1.9 million. Of this, 62.5% of the 1.9 million people are ethnically homogeneous, having at least one Latvian parent. Around 24.7% of the Latvian population is Russian, 3.2% are Belarusian, 2.2% are Ukrainian, 1.9% are Polish, go check out that episode, it's pretty good, 1% are Lithuanian, and 4.1% are other ethnic groups. 80% of the Latvian population are Christian, with 34% being Lutheran, 25% being Roman Catholic, 17% being Eastern Orthodox, and 1.7% being other Christian denominations. 18.3% of Latvian citizens are atheist or agnostic, and 1.7% of citizens are other religions. The capital of Latvia is Riga, with a population of 627,000. There are no other cities in Latvia that have a population over 100,000, but the second most populated Latvian city is, and I'm probably going to mess this up, Daugavpils, with a population of around 82.5 thousand people. The GDP, or Gross Domestic Product, which is used to measure a country's wealth, of Latvia is $63.5 billion US dollars, which makes them the 42nd wealthiest country in the world. The HDI scale is used to measure a country's standard of living. The HDI score of Latvia is .866, which gives Latvia the 37th highest standard of living in the world. The one UNESCO World Heritage Site in Latvia is the Historic Center of Riga, founded in 1201, and is rich in Northern European culture and history. We don't have a lot of time to further dive into the Historic Center of Riga, but I've heard the architecture is beautiful, and I highly suggest that people look into that because it's rich with culture and history, really. So it's very interesting to learn about. But back to the facts. Latvia is a member of the EU and NATO, but is under constant pressure from Russia to leave and ally with them because of their strategic position on the Baltic Sea. Latvia uses Eastern European Time, or UTC+2, and drives on the right side of the road. Those are some basic facts about Latvia, so let's talk about some Latvian politics and subdivisions. Latvia is a unitary parliamentary constitutional republic. In normal English, that means that a central government controls the country and a parliament elected by the people is the main legislature in the country. The name of the parliament in Latvia is the Seima. The Seima is unicameral, or has one house, compared to the US or UK version, bicameral, which has two houses, like the US Senate and House of Representatives, but Latvia just has the Seima. Or Seima, I'm not really sure how to pronounce it. There are 100 members of the Seima. They're elected by the open list proportional voting system, where citizens rank candidates, and if a candidate gets 5% of the vote, they get a seat. Of the 100 members, 58 are in the governing coalition, with 15 seats belonging to the JKP, a center-right party, 13 seats belong to the AP party, a center-left party, 12 seats belong to the NA party, a right-wing party, 10 seats belong to the PCL party, a right-wing populist party, and 8 seats belonging to the Unity Party, a centrist party. 5 seats belong to a coalition that supports the governing coalition but hasn't been officially let in, and they have 3 independents and 2 members of the Unity Party. There are 37 members of the opposing coalition, with 19 seats belonging to the Harmony Party, a social democrat party, 10 seats belong to the Union of Greens and Farmers Party, an agrarian conservative party, 4 seats belong to the Law and Order Party, a very right-wing party, and 4 seats belonging to independents. The Seimas elected every 4 years, with the last election happening in October 2018. The current PM of Latvia is Artūrs Krišjānis Kariņš of the Unity Party. Again, I am not entirely sure how to pronounce that, so take the pronunciation of everything, I should say, in this episode with a grain of salt. Latvian language is very hard to pronounce, in my defense. He assumed office in 2019. There are 7 Republican cities and 110 municipalities which have the powers to build roads and stuff, but aren't given actual governmental powers. That's my take on the government and subdivisions of Latvia, so let's talk about the languages of Latvia. The official language of Latvia is Latvian, sometimes known as Lettish. Latvian is spoken by 1.75 million people around the world, with about 98% of those speakers learning Latvian as a first language and the remaining 2% being immigrants that came into Latvia that are being forced to learn the language. It's an Indo-European language that belongs to the Balto-Slavic, Baltic, and Eastern Baltic subfamilies, and some other Eastern Baltic languages are Latgalian, Samogitian, and Lithuanian. There are 3 main Latvian dialects. They are the Labiškais dialect in the northwest, the Vidus dialect in the center of the country, and the Augšas Memku dialect in the southeast. That's really all there is to know, or all I could really find, on the Latvian language. So let's talk about some Latvian currency. Just a quick announcement though before we move on to the Latvian currency segment. Me and my family are planning on doing a 20th episode spectacular with another Munch Pack. The 10th episode spectacular was really fun. It's one of my most viewed videos, and it was really well received. So I want to try to do that again for the 20th episode, but before we talk about Latvian currency, I should have an announcement to make. Me and my family are going to try to make another Munch Pack video for the 20th episode, because it was really fun to make and it was really well received, and most people really liked the video and left really nice comments, and I just really want to say thank you. I also want to say that we'll be doing another one for the 20th episode, so stay tuned for that. And I was thinking of doing a Q&A segment. I'm trying to sort of build a little community around this podcast, and it would be really nice if people just started sending in questions. You could send them in through comments on YouTube or SoundCloud at the Culture Club Podcast, on Twitter at Culture Club Pod 1, and even on my personal Facebook page at Oscar Dalton. Thank you. Let's get on to some Latvian currency. The currency of Latvia is the European euro. The ISO code of the euro is EUR, and the ISO number of the euro is 978. The subdivision of the euro is the cent, also known as the euro cent, which is 1/100th of the euro. That just means it takes 100 cents, or euro cents, whatever you want to call it, to equal 1 euro. The banknotes used in Latvia are the 5, 10, 20, 50, 100, and 200, and 500 euro banknotes, and the euro coins used in Latvia are the 5, 10, 20, and 50 cent coins alongside the 1 and 2 euro coins. Latvia gets its coins, interestingly, from the Baden-Württemberg Mint in Stuttgart, which we said in the Germany episode, which was a very fun episode to make. You guys should go listen to that. It's a bit longer than this one, but it's pretty good. Okay, excuse me. So Latvia gets its coins from the Baden-Württemberg Mint in Stuttgart, Germany, and 1 euro is about $1 and 19 cents. That's all about the Latvian side of the euro, so let's talk about the Latvian flag. The flag of Latvia is a maroon on the top 2/5 and the bottom 2/5 of the flag with white in the middle fifth. It was adopted in 1918 and restored in 1990 after independence from the Soviet Union. The maroon represents the Latvian men and leaders wounded in battle, and the white represents the sheets they were buried in. I couldn't find an explanation for the Latvian coat of arms, or the Latvian coat of arms at all, but it looks pretty cool, so you should all look it up. Since this segment is running a bit short this week, let's talk about the flag of the capital, Riga. The flag of Riga is a horizontal bicolor with light blue on top and white on the bottom, with the coat of arms of Riga in the middle. I couldn't really find a lot on the symbols of Latvia and Riga, so let's just talk about some Latvian food while we enjoy this wonderful anthem. The national dish of Latvia is paleki zerni, or speki. That dish, which I probably pronounce horribly, is made with gray peas, similar to chickpeas, fried onions, and diced speck, a type of German Latvian bacon. The most popular dish in Latvia is carbonade, a Baltic take on the German Wiener Schnitzel. This is made of a thinly sliced pork cutlet covered in flour, beaten eggs, and breadcrumbs, all fried to perfection. It's usually served with dill, french fries, pickled veggies, and a cabbage salad, sometimes a slice of rye bread, all covered in a thick mushroom sauce. The most popular Latvian dessert is debesmana. It's a porridge of cream of wheat, water, sugar, and berries, topped with whipped cream, sometimes flavored with strawberries, raspberries, and blackberries. Those are some popular Latvian foods, so let's talk about some Latvian sports. The national sport of Latvia is ice hockey, but basketball and football or soccer are also popular. Some popular Latvian athletes from history are Sandis Ozolic, a 7-time NHL All-Star and Stanley Cup winner, 2-time Olympic BMX champion Maris Strombergs, and of course Kristaps Porzingis, a popular basketball player. Latvia has the 136th best football team in the world according to FIFA, which isn't that good. The top flight of Latvian football is the Optibet Versliga, or the Latvian Higher League. It's considered one of the most underdeveloped leagues in Europe, only having around 10 teams with little competition between them. That's really all I could find on some Latvian sports, so let's talk about some Latvian myths. Latvian mythology is a combination of ancient Curonian, Semigallian, and Livonian ideas, stemming from Livonian, which is kind of like Baltic, paganism. There aren't that many Latvian stories or fairy tales, but the Latvians love their festivals. In the ancient times, ancient Latvians believed in 8 seasons per year, and had a festival to start and end each. There was also a deity to watch over every season. The Latvian seasons might have also helped create the ideas of the 4 seasons, because today they have 2 cold seasons, winter, 2 hot seasons, summer, 2 mild seasons, what is now autumn, and 2 planting seasons, what is now called spring. Which is a coincidence? I think not. That's a bit about ancient Latvian calendars, so let's talk about some Latvian history. In between segments here, I usually put a video of the current leader of the country speaking, but I could not find any videos of the Latvian Prime Minister speaking. So I guess we'll just dive right into the history. Latvia was inhabited by ancient Baltic tribes and chiefdoms around Latvia, northern Lithuania, and most of Estonia for thousands of years. The biggest were the Latgalians, Lithuanians, and Curonians. By the end of the 12th century, the Latvian tribes were trading with the West a lot, and this all culminated with the tribes being forcefully converted to Christianity by Germanic nations from the West, which is today Germany. The Baltic states were split by the Germans after the Northern Crusade into the Baltic states and Finland, and this led to Latvia being split into a bunch of different Christian kingdoms, most notably the Teutonic Knights, Archbishopship of Riga, and the Bishopric of Courland. You know, they have to distinguish those titles. This lasted until the Livonian War of 1558 and put all those aforementioned states under Polish-Lithuanian control. But that itself only lasted until 1629, when Sweden took the reins. That itself lasted until 1721, when the Russians took control, until 1795, when they became independent because of the Third Partition of Poland. The Russians took back control from 1915 to 1918 to protect the Baltic states from the Germans. In between world wars, Latvia was a mess, being democratic for a while, then becoming fascist, while all still kind of being a Soviet puppet. It was crazy. But during World War II, Latvia was on the edge of the Eastern Front and saw a lot of casualties, not only to their soldiers, but to their civilians. This is a very dark period in Latvian history, and some Latvian citizens will even tell you that it's still kind of affecting them today. But the Soviets ended up annexing them after they eventually won the war and pushed the Germans out of Latvia and controlled them until 1990, when Latvia finally got its independence back. That's how Latvia got to its present-day borders. Congratulations! You've made it to the end of this week's episode. If you found this episode at all interesting, please like, subscribe, comment, or follow wherever you're listening. If you want to get in contact with me, you could DM me on Twitter at CultureClubPod1, on Facebook at Oscar Dalton, or you could even leave a comment down below on this YouTube or SoundCloud video, or episode. What do you call it on SoundCloud? I don't know. But please try to send me those questions if you want to know anything about me, anything about the podcast, why I even got into all of this. I'll probably answer it during the 20th episode spectacular. But anyways, enjoy your week. Stay tuned for next week's episode on Bulgaria, and I'll see you next week.